I mean, your entry was one out of nearly 200 applications. How much did this mean for you?
You know, just seeing my name next to Komla's, it's... I don't even know how to say it because I never met him, but I felt like I knew him. He was such a powerful journalist. He was so good at what he did. And I think I speak for many journalists across Africa when I say he really inspired us. You know, he really contributed something really great to the continent. So for me, just to be linked to him and to his legacy is really amazing.
Let's talk a bit about you, Nancy. You operate in quite a tough media landscape, or that is the perception in Africa for women trying to make a mark with their journalism on the continent. So, a tough media landscape, that's the perception. What's been your experience in that regard?
Well, I must thank my parents because they never allowed me to think of myself in terms of gender, or they never allowed me to think that there were things I couldn't do because I was a woman. And I think growing up with that sort of gender blindness was a gift because it never occurred to me that it would be harder for me. I mean, of course I knew that it was difficult for women to do certain things and that rhetoric was out there. But it never really occurred to me that it would be difficult for me just because I was a woman. And I really think that's the message that needs to be passed on. Not that you're going to have it harder because you're a woman and you need to prepare yourself, but that boundary shouldn't exist in your mind, because I think that's where it begins, and the more we start to think outside those terms, I think the better it will be. And if women and men start thinking in those terms, I think it'll be easier. So I think sometimes maybe the challenges were there, but I didn't see them because I was focusing on something else.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy, with us, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, lots of things. There's great free tea and coffee at the BBC. So I've been enjoying that. But I think one of the things that has really impressed me about the BBC is just the willingness and the openness to learn. And, you know, people listen to me here. Wow. But they really do. And I think it's this openness to ideas, this sort of two-way exchange, which is going to be beneficial, I think, to both parties. Definitely for me, I'm learning a lot. But also, I'm very aware that while I'm here, I need to add something, and I need to leave something. Just as Komla left so much everywhere that he went.
Nancy, we're looking forward to working with you here at the BBC. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
You say that when I received the invitation to come, I was told that I should speak to the audience for 2 to 5 minutes. I was walking down the way to my seat, and I was told I should speak for 2 minutes. And being an academic and a teacher, if you ask me to speak for 2 minutes, it doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to make an informed judgment and speak to you. But in addition, Mr. Harding told me yesterday that if I have any advice to give to the recipient, I should feel free to do so. Therefore, I'm going to administer some punishment on the audience at this time, trying to give you a little bit of insight into our thinking as a family in relation to Komla and what the BBC has done to make him what he became before he died. I'm so grateful that this event will become the watershed in the sense that it will help the BBC and the family of Komla to promote and sustain the legacy of this young man who touched the lives of many people, ordinary people in fact, across the world, and especially in Africa and Ghana. I'm very grateful. I must also confess that when the invitation reached me with a request to say a few words, I wondered whether I had anything profound and of redeeming value to say. I was really very nervous, to confess. But I began to wish my nervousness in terms of having a platform, on which I can stand and be as tall as the way Komla was when he appeared on television, when he appeared on Focus in Africa in particular. I imagined myself having his great skills as a communicator, his confidence, his diction, his commanding presence, and stage control. And you can say so many things about Komla. He did everything so well. And let me take this opportunity to thank the team, the producers, the engineers, the cameramen, the makeup artists who packaged him. In fact, I met the makeup artist, and I told her I wish I were around so that she can also do a job for me. In fact, all of you will remain in the hearts of my family. As a routine, Komla will call me and tell me to watch his presentations. That was almost every time he was going to appear on television. He wanted me always to let him know how well he was doing. I was his main critic. I remember this one occasion, he was looking so classically handsome on the set. And I called him afterwards and told him that, oh, you guys, you are absolutely handsome, classically handsome. And I added with a foolish confidence, you got all these qualities from me. His response was sharp and witty. Dad, you are lucky. Mom is not here. You would have been sent to Siberia, never to return home. That was how Komla, acknowledged my gracious wife and his mother, and unfortunately she is also not here today, but she equally remains grateful wherever she is for what you have done to our son and allowed him to have his hands on the wheel of history. If there is anything I have to say to the recipient on this occasion, and I'm coming back to what the director of news told me yesterday, I can only draw on what Komla himself had to say. A young aspiring broadcast journalist asked Komla what he should do in order to be as good as he was. Komla's answer was very simple: get to work. He then added, I hope I hear you listening. If you want to be a good broadcast journalist, then you must consider this job as a vocation. You are a recipient of this prestigious award in memory of Komla. I want to believe that the BBC instituted this award not simply to honor Komla and to give all of us a sense of fulfillment, but also to be clear that the future of Africa, the new economic powerhouse, the new frontier in the global system, is in the hands of a new crop of media men and women. These are the people who must passionately get to work and live completely for Africa to claim the 21st century. We need a new crop of broadcast journalists in Africa who, in the words of the great German sociologist Max Weber, journalists must be people who can rightfully claim the right to grip the spokes of the wheel of history and have a clear responsibility to the people. It is indeed not enough to deliver a story at any cost when it only leads to retrogression, hurt, and suffering. The story must lead to liberation. It must bring hope to the powerless, the disadvantaged, and those who have been written out of history. It must usher in the new renaissance, the rebirth of the African continent. This is what Komla stood for. And we must pursue these ideals with zeal, passion, and vitriolic intensity. Permit me to say a few words now about the Komla Dumor Center for Broadcast Journalism. I wish to inform you that on the 3rd of October 2015, the Komla Dumor Memorial Foundation, in partnership with the African University College of Communication in Ghana, will inaugurate this center. This is a legacy journalism education project in memory of Komla. To give full expression to this legacy, the center will focus attention on the cultivation and growth of the next generation of leaders in the African and global media space. This will be accomplished by the organization of academic programs in broadcast journalism, with emphasis on radio and television, policy research in multimedia, organizing symposia for students and scholars and working professionals. Fundamental to all these is a commitment of the Center to advancing excellence in the practice of journalism and the advancement of ethical standards. Komla Dumor's legacy has and will continue to inspire many young professionals, his colleagues, and indeed African and global leaders. Given this, the Center will continue his good work by inculcating journalistic integrity and serving as a platform for the informed debate on the rapidly evolving media landscape and the role of the African journalists in telling the African story and supporting this wounded continent to claim the 21st century. In all humility, ladies and gentlemen, I recommend to you this center for your support. The Dumor family will remain eternally grateful to the BBC, and I thank you for your role in making what others saw as less than nothing into something that was ready to nullify what has been. Thank you very much.
We miss him because he was an exceptional and singular man. He had this extraordinary warmth. As I said, to be welcomed into the BBC by Komla was really to be embraced, and I don't mean metaphorically, I mean embraced. And I remember when I arrived here thinking, well, taking it rather personally, thinking that I was getting this very warm personal welcome, only to discover that actually it was quite widely extended, this great warm welcome. But the truth was, he was a man who had a warmth that was both extremely generous and yet essentially genuine. And to have that, a warmth that exuded out of the studio and onto the screen, but coupled with a real intellectual seriousness about what he did as a journalist, and to have the capacity to be trusted by people often in powerful positions, in difficult situations, to be trusted and yet to be tough in those circumstances too, was part of a person who, it seemed to me, exemplified what it is both to be humane as a journalist and a real professional. And the reason that we've launched the award in Komla's honour is, of course, because he was an exceptional person, but he represented something extraordinarily important. The coverage of Africa, the capacity to inquire with a real rigour, but also a great sense of understanding. And we hope that in launching this award, we honour Komla Dumor's spirit, but also the real purpose that he brought right to the heart of this organisation.